Hail champions! Welcome to the weekly live stream for Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms. My name is Dylan Wilks, and I am your host for the very first ever 2-hour stream. Yeah, because we have that many things to talk about. We have an extra special show planned for you this cold and wet Pacific Northwest afternoon with both our very first 2-hour show and our first show with more than one guest. Just ignore him briefly while I get through my housekeeping. Well, I suppose on that note, actually, first things first, you asked for it, and so here he is. This is Justin, the mind behind Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms and one of the co-founders of Codename Entertainment. He joins us to answer questions, and if we were live, this is where I would ask for an applause, but I'll have to settle for the awkward silence of internet broadcasting. And then in addition to the first of our two special guests, we will be doing a number of giveaways, including 2 raffles, not just for Lords of Waterdeep Steam keys, but actually for Lords of Waterdeep plus both the DLCs, Undermountain and Skullport. Lords of Waterdeep, if you're wondering what it is, it's a board game. But it has been adapted into a online game by Playdeck. So Lords of Waterdeep is an award-winning strategy board game set in the Dungeons and Dragons world of Waterdeep. You play as one of the masked lords of the City of Splendor. Intrigue abounds as you recruit adventurers via your agents to quest on your behalf and spread your influence. So we'll be giving away 2 of those with the DLC today, as well as one of these. This is a postcard for 2 gold chests signed by none other than Arcan himself, Joe Manganello. So we'll be giving away one of those, and we'll also be giving away some Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms loot, some DLC codes. And so if you are wondering how we do our raffles, and I'm not saying that we're starting one right now, because people have a tendency to type it immediately as soon as I utter the word, and that's not as helpful as when Erica says it in chat. So it's not until it actually says it in chat from Codename Entertainment. That's when the raffle is live, okay? Not when I say it. Yeah, you type that in, and Erica will send you a DM either with the code or the instructions on how to receive your prize, and that's how things work. Before we get to it, I would like to once again give our undying thanks to Wizards of the Coast and the Dungeons & Dragons team for hosting us on the official D&D Twitch. It is and will always be an honor to be here. And so now, on with the show. So this is me getting wrecked by red wizards in one of the new missions, Premature Betrayal, which is totally how I wanted things to go. Yeah, so thanks for that, Justin.
You're welcome.
But I'm actually done this, so I'm going to complete this quest and, yeah, move on from there.
I'm going to figure out where my mic goes so I'm not leaning off screen all the time.
Yeah, that's fair.
There we go.
So, since this is your first time joining us, we have a congratulations in our chat for you. Congrats on your SO saying yes.
Oh. Thank you.
Yeah, congrats. And then, of course, our first question is the same question that we get first every day. KB when?
What's KB?
The Kelemvor's blessings. They're wondering when the Tomb of Annihilation blessings are coming up.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we'll get around to that at some point.
It's funny because Dave mentioned it in the stream 3 weeks ago now, I think. And at the time, I'm like, we didn't say that we were going to do that right away, did we? But sure enough.
It's very high on our list of things to do.
Yeah.
It's just not.
We know it makes people happy, so.
Yeah, not something we have yet gotten around to.
We'll get to it.
Yes, of course.
I'm just going to organize my formation at least somewhat so I don't get trolled by the audience again for doing a bad job like I did that one time.
Do you actually organize your formation right off the bat? Because usually when I'm playing, I just sort of buy everyone and then just sort of let it get me up to a higher level. And then maybe around level 15 or 20, I'll actually go back and buy everyone else I need, reorganize.
Yeah, it depends. I mean, usually I like to buy as many people as I can in the first couple kills, and then I'll tab out and get back to work, for example. So that's kind of how that goes. It's awfully. I don't know if anybody can hear our air conditioning vent, but I'm just going to go ahead and turn the game sound on so that you can definitely hear the music.
Oh, good.
As opposed to the AC in here, which I'm not even sure why it's on because it's not warm today.
No, it's very cold here.
So we have our next question. How long does your average player play, and how much favor should your average player have by now?
That's a great question. I don't actually know the answer to that. That would be a great question for Eric or someone who follows like the specific analytics and stuff of the game. As far as how much favor you should have, I mean, there really is no proper answer for that. The missions that we have right now, or the adventures that we have right now, you can probably do them all around like 5 or 10 million favor. I wouldn't expect you to need more than that. So any more than that is just kind of gravy at this point. But it will definitely be very useful once we release more missions, more adventures with a higher difficulty.
And so on that note, though, when can we expect to see something like dailies in the game?
Daily quests, like I assume people are responding to something, or referring to something similar to what we have in Crusaders of the Lost Idols. And right now we don't have any plans to do that, because we're still trying to get through our content pipeline and get that up to speed and get all of the other sort of missing features in there. So, I mean, possibly at some point. We don't have any plans for it right now.
Okay. When buying a blessing, is there any chance you can add a favor cost percentage all the time to the confirmation screen, and not just when it's more than 10%? So somebody wanting to know what the cost is every time they do it.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the way we have it right now, just for everyone, is if it's less than 1%, you get no warning pop-up. We just assume that if it's less than 1%, it's probably a good idea to buy that one, because there's not going to be enough of a downside to buying it. If it's between 1 and 9%, we'll be like, or 10%, we'll be like, are you sure? You know, I'm not really sure if this is a good idea. It probably is, but maybe not. And then if it's more than 10%, we're like, this should really think about this one, because there's a number of situations where this will not be worth doing. So I don't think we really have any plans to change how that works right now, because the one thing I hate more than anything is having to click more than you need to in order to do something. We spend a lot of time trying to reduce the number of clicks you have to do in order to get through a dialogue. You know, if there's enough requests for it, if it's a big thing that a lot of people are asking for, we can think about putting in an option for it in the options. That's why we have co-ops. To add more options.
What are the co-ops working on right now?
I have no idea. What are they working on right now? You sit closer to them.
I do, and my back is to them, and isn't that how it's supposed to be? No, I'm kidding.
Oh, yeah.
I honestly have no idea what they're working on at the moment. I'm busy writing newsletters today, so
I know we're working on a lot of optimizations right now. A bunch of our engineers have been working on optimizing the memory footprint of the game, which is a big deal for us to get that so it doesn't, you know, crash every couple of days kind of thing. So
yeah, it's early access. That's all right. It's all right to crash.
Yeah, but eventually at some point we want to not be early access again. Spoiler alert, guys. So before we get there, we want to make sure our memory is figured out.
That's funny. So our next question, you swapped the position of Celeste's domain upgrades. Was this intentional, or will it be going back?
That was not intentional. I'm not sure. I didn't realize that happened.
So it's actually the second time that it has swapped.
Okay.
And I'm pretty sure the first time was not intentional and it just reverted.
I do not know.
Kevin was talking about that, but I could be wrong. I don't want to throw him under the bus, but I swear that's what happened.
Oh, it's fun to throw Kevin under the bus. No, that was not intentional. I think probably I don't recall ever actually putting an order on them, so I'm assuming that it's something that's just based upon the order the data is read from the back end.
So it might get changed again.
So, you know.
So what we're really doing is keeping people on their toes. You should be reading your dialogues.
Yeah, exactly.
Before
we want
you,
everyone
before you
to be
click
reading every dialogue before you click anything.
Yeah.
So I don't like clicking, but I do like forcing people to read a lot of extra text.
And then they and then they can they can rewrite their scripting tools to accommodate for the fact that their Celeste is now healing more than buffing damage.
Maybe we should. Maybe that's how we'll start to fight against automation in the game. We'll just start randomly moving things around. No, we're not going to do that. We don't have any plans to do
that. So our next question: why does Krond have 2 item slots locked out?
I'm assuming this is referring to how he's got 3 item slots that affect his cantrips, and you only pick 1 per upgrade. And so one of the reasons we did that is to make that choice more interesting. So if they're all equal, then players will inevitably find one that is the best and always purchase that one. And for the most part, we don't want to do that with specializations. We want to have there be some choice in it. So some choice or some thinking you can do before you make a choice. So what we intended with that was, depending on what gear you got during the event, one of those might be better for you than it is for someone else. And so the thing I like more than anything else is when someone asks, like, hey, which hero is best, or which upgrade is best? If the answer to that is, it depends on your gear, that's awesome. I like that.
I'm a big fan of that as well, because it gives you an opportunity to try out unconventional formations.
Yeah, it means the game isn't the same for everyone, and that's one of the things we try to do with the formation and unlocking heroes and getting gear, is that your ideal situation for your champions is not the same as somebody else's ideal situation for their champions. Now, obviously, once you've got all epics or all rares or the same sort of thing, then the choice becomes more like situational. But yeah.
Okay. We have somebody asking, what about saving purchase progression in the formation slot? Does that mean that the order that you purchase buffs is also saved in a... Would that just be like one button does everything, like all the leveling and everything? That seems like kind of an odd question. Unless I'm reading it wrong.
Yeah, I'm not sure what they mean by that. Definitely down the road, like we just added a whole bunch of upgrades to all the heroes, as you guys know, if you read the patch notes yesterday or have a lot of favor and play really deep into the game. So there is going to be a point at which it gets ridiculously annoying to level your guys back up after you reset. We're close to that point, but we're not quite there yet. So what we're probably going to do at some point is add a mechanic for bursting through those levels and buying a bunch of upgrades all at once. So I don't know if that's what we're asking about
like
here.
Speeding up the first levels, or
yeah, basically speeding up after you reset. There's always a bit of downtime as you get back to wherever you were, and so making that process a little bit quicker. Is something that we're cognizant of.
Cool. Well, that was an interesting sound. Yeah, I like loud buildings on days when we're streaming.
Oh.
I don't know who's doing that, but fine. I hate them. So, question. Will we be getting new distractions for indoor locations such as rats, bats, or dentists?
Yes. To 2 out of 3 of those. I'll leave it to you guys to try and figure out which 2 out of 3 I mean.
Feral dentist attack.
Feral dentists, yes. Undead dentists. We like undead. Yes, I know one of our artists has freed up a bit of time, hopefully this week or next, to start to look into that. We've been very, 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 very busy working on new content for you guys, pretty much non-stop since the game has launched, and we're trying to push it out and give you lots of things to do. So new distractions are one of the things we want to add. It's just a little bit lower on the list than, say, a new event or a new champion.
Yeah,
like that.
I think that's one of the things that seems like a bit of a common misconception among people who play a lot of games who don't have any experience making them or knowing more about the inner workings in the back, is that, a patch didn't come out last week, and yes, you guys were at BlizzCon, but it doesn't mean that nothing was getting done. Tons of stuff got done.
Assumedly, I don't know.
Well,
I leave the office, and who knows?
You know what? And you know what? I don't watch what everybody's doing at their screens, but I see lots of cool art. But it's like all the submissions are getting completed, and have a good idea of like what's coming up next. So it's like lots of things are coming. but people just like, oh, I didn't get anything new this week. So
yeah, no, we've got tons of new stuff planned for you guys through the end of the year and well into 2018 already. So
we have someone asking if we have any plans on buffing Jamila and Arcan so that I can use them for the first time.
Oh man.
So I'm gonna have to disagree with that, just in the sense that Jamila is super good.
Jamila is
even
super
now.
OP, guys.
Like,
she's gonna get nerfed. Watch out.
yeah, Hitch buffs her. She was already one of my top damage dealer before she got extra levels, and now it's just nuts.
Hitch buffs her. Ashara buffs her.
Yeah.
Very, very good champion. She can easily be your top DPS if you position her correctly in your formation, and if you have the right gear. This is another one where like gear makes all the difference, right? Like if you have no gear on Jamila and all epics on another guy, that other person's going to be really good. If you've got decent gear on Jamila, she can be really, really effective.
Yeah. And so now it's quarter after, so I think it's time for us to give away our first giveaway.
Oh, how exciting.
Yeah, good choice of words there, Dylan.
Yeah.
So it's a Lords of Waterdeep Steam key along with both the DLC. So enter the raffle and good luck to the winner. Hopefully you don't already have it or something. But yeah, that's sweet. I'm stoked. I always really liked that game. But I always think of the board game like instead of the video game. Like it's just like how my brain thinks about games like that. Like kind of like
that's where you saw it first, right?
Yeah, and it's like the box is over there. I can see it from here, so it's just kind of, or at least it was there. Oh no, maybe it moved. Now it's been replaced by Betrayal at Baldur's Gate. Well, there was a Lords of Waterdeep box there. Anyways, also a great game, Betrayal at Baldur's Gate. If you like Betrayal at House on the Hill.
I really like Betrayal at House on the Hill. I used to play that all the time back in the day.
I've been killed by the Blob and a couple other things. I think a bird picked up the house one time and killed. Anyways, moving on. And also Arcan being buffed. Well, Arcan is good, but like it really depends on your gear. I think the real thing that people seem to complain about more, certainly on Discord, is that he doesn't fit into tank slots as well as Tyrell or Jamila right now.
Arcan's a little bit funky because he's right at the end. He's in slot number 12, and the game isn't really deep enough that you really get a lot of levels into him, and so he hasn't really had a chance to sort of shine to his full potential. But we've got a lot of really fun things that we're thinking about doing with Arcan, so I wouldn't count him out yet.
Yeah, I mean, he's also done some interesting things in Critical Role since coming out in the game too. So
he looks different in real life than he does in our game at this point. But
I'm pretty sure there's a picture of Eric standing beside Arcan like last week on our Twitter. And
Joe mentioned
he's about half as he's 2 Erics tall.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Very similar to
any plans to make heroism potions somewhat useful? Which ones are heroism? Are those the ones that buff your damage?
Increase your health. Let's take a look here. I think they
I should have some.
Your health. Heroism, guys. Where are they? Yes, health. Yes.
That is helpful. Are you kidding? I use that for
ones?
pushing. Yeah, so that you don't get one shot when you're pushing.
That's fair. I think we do have some balance issues right now around health and tanking and all that stuff. And ideally, I keep hitting the table.
That's all right. It just makes all the cameras vibrate.
That's fine. Ideally, in the future, the way that tanking works in the game will not be quite so you just automatically tank a million mobs kind of thing. And so at that point, hopefully the health potions will be a little bit more effective. But if not, if we don't get to that point, if we can't find that balance point, we are not afraid to replace those potions with something more effective or pull them out or anything like that. For anyone who played Crusaders back in the day, you'll know that we changed all the potions very early on in the game and made, I think, most of them fairly useful.
Okay. Yeah. Certainly the fire breath ones that allow you to do mob health are crazy useful.
Yes, those ones are possibly a bit too useful, and the potions of heroes are a bit unuseful, so we'll find a balance point there.
Okay. So next up, what are your thoughts about tanking not being as useful as a DPS buff specialization currently due to the bosses scaling up?
Yeah, I think we briefly touched on that. I think tanking needs to be a little bit more effective. Currently, the problem isn't that tanking isn't effective. The problem is that not taking the tanking spec is really pretty much just as effective. So we need to find the balance point there, and I do also want to address at some point the rate at which bosses scale up, because I do agree that it's not really interesting right now. They basically just, you see the health bar go down each time they hit you, and each time it gets closer and closer to one-shotting you, and then it one-shots you, and then you're dead. So
yeah.
So that's something we want to look into.
It's funny because it's one of those things that I didn't always notice, because what I would do is I would tab out and come back and like, wait, why am I 3 levels behind where I was?
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh. Okay. Question 11. Justin is a co-founder. Do you have a history in game design?
I have a history in game design as long as the company's been around in terms of professionally. I've been interested in making games my entire life. When I was 7 or 8 years old, my family got a little 386 computer.
Oh, nice.
And my parents got me a book on Quick Basic. And since that day, I've pretty much been making games. So
nice.
My history, I don't have any like official training in game design, because that's not something that existed back when I went to school. But I've been playing games my entire life. I've been making games my entire life.
Well, I mean, when you think about the history of your game, how many games has Codename put out now?
And
11,
I was just going to say, Codename has been around for 9 years now. 9 years now. And yeah, we've put out like a dozen games. And so, yeah, I feel pretty comfortable.
Yeah. Let's see. Somebody asking, are chests no longer going to be emailed and only be done through this stream? No, we'll think of all kinds of clever and creative ways to give out chests, including if you're looking closely, there's a secret code in the corner of the screen on the bottom left.
Whoa.
That, you know, it might be hard to decipher, or it might just say 2 gold chests today. But the code is active until 24 hours from the end of this stream. So 3 p.m. tomorrow, November 10th, 3 p.m. Pacific, it will become inactive. But until then, treat yourself to 2 gold chests.
I'd reach over and point at it, but my arm kind of disappears here.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
It's right there, guys.
It just cuts your arm right off right as you reach towards it.
Similar to a certain hero in Critical Role.
May or may not remove arms and replace them with lich phylacteries.
I can get a lich arm. I think that's a great idea.
Even just one that you hold to hit people with. Do this. The hand of Vecna compels you. Let's see. Let's see. Did you consider or discuss using multiple types of favor for blessings in the future? Oh, so like more than one per blessing?
Oh, interesting. That is not something we've talked about yet. It's kind of a cool idea. I don't know.
You need a gajillion of each favor.
Yeah, that'd be really, really, really funky to do. I think that'd be really fun. But we have no plans to do that right now.
Let's see. Why are some specializations so binary?
So binary. So I assume we're talking about like tanking versus healing, or
like Makos.
So like gold find versus
DPS.
buffing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Makos is a good example of one where I think both specializations are interesting. Potentially they're not both as useful right now as they could be, but I think one of the cool things about the game is as we unlock new heroes, as we add more content to the game, certain specializations, certain heroes can become more useful. So for example, Jamila, she got some minor buffs, but really since the start of the game she hasn't changed too much. But it was the addition of Hitch really that made her more viable, because Hitch's friendly buff. Yeah, she was sort of the most powerful DPSer that it affected, and so I think we'll see more things like that in the future, where we'll see other champions that maybe make some of the less powerful champions more powerful. And so I think it's one of the interesting things is that even if you've got all of the champions and you think you know which ones are best, when a new one comes out, you can evaluate all the champions, even the ones that were less powerful, and say like, now this champion's actually really good, or now there's a situation that this champion works in really well.
Yeah. Okay. And so, how far out in the design process do you consciously make those kinds of decisions, or is it something that's like, okay, you have this champion coming up, and when you're working on the abilities, you're like, oh, well, they could buff this person, or they could have synergy with so and so.
Yeah, we're always thinking about synergies between our champions. So whenever we add a new champion, it's like, who's this going to work well with? Who's this not going to work well with? Is this champion going to stand on their own? What's the role this champion's going to have within the formation? And sometimes we go really specific with their role. Like Krond was very much, he does DPS. He does not do support. He does not
I think
heal,
our audience might
tank.
disagree with you about how much DPS he does, though.
He does DPS. When someone's added later on who buffs half-orcs specifically, then all of a sudden Krond becomes this amazing Destroyotron.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I was using him to one-shot bosses for a while there until he was rebalanced. So
yes, just his ultimate was a little bit off there.
Well, if he was a human, he would be the one that everybody's using, and then people would be complaining who started after the event ended that they don't have the top DPS. So,
what can you do?
Yeah. Somebody apparently sneaking a question in here. Can we please be able to split which regular favors we convert event favor into? So more than...
Yes. I have seen that. It's a little bit difficult to do because of how we scale up the favor bonus. Since it doesn't scale linearly, there's some math reasons why, like, if we split that up, it's actually way better than if we keep it separate. And so I know why you would want to split it up, because it could be way better, and you could get like a 20% boost in two things instead of a 40% boost in one thing. But we'd really have to think about how that would specifically be done if we were going to do that. I'm not saying it's not off the table. We just have to think about exactly how we would go about doing that, because the two factors that go into how much favor you get really... It doesn't work well to just do a simple, like, half your favor goes into this and half your favor goes into that kind of thing.
Yeah, because I noticed that when I converted my last event favor, it was different amounts that it turned into each one. So it's like, as soon as... Yeah, just making it more complex. Okay, so this one I have to think about the question. In the normal boxes for gear, for event characters you haven't locked in the past, what?
Is the normal... Okay, so I think it's asking, is there gear for event champions in the regular silver and jeweled chests? And the answer for that is nope. But we do want to add ways for you to potentially be able to gear up your event champions if you didn't get them fully geared up before. That's something we do in Crusaders with event promotions and weekend promotions. So, and we also do that through missions in Crusaders. So there's lots of opportunities, I'm sure, in the future to do that. Just nothing quite yet.
Okay. Where the frack is Drizzit?
Where is Dritzt? Is it Dritzt or Drizzit?
Dritzt? I don't know. It depends on how old you were when you started reading them, which phrasing you went with.
I'm fairly sure. I mean, this is another...
Drizzt.
Guys,
Drizzit.
Were you reading the text in the tutorial? Dritzt is in Waterdeep.
We just have to go to Waterdeep.
Yeah. We'll get there eventually.
Yeah. Actually, so what? It's almost 1:30. It's pretty close. I think it's about time we did another raffle.
I love raffles.
I think this time around we are going to give away a Bruner starter pack.
Oh, that's a good starter pack.
That is a good starter pack. With a great price point. Yeah, it comes with... Now, the many-notched axe is for your purchase. It comes with the gold beard clips of the clan, which is absurdly good.
Damage, guys.
Yeah, every time you buff all champion damage is probably maybe a bit too good. So yeah, good luck to whoever earns that one. And also, I think it comes with 5 gold chests. That sounds right. Yeah, I think it's 5, 10, and 20. I think it's 5. I think it comes with 5. So yeah, good luck to whoever wins that one. That's a good one to get. Yeah,
all of those are pretty good. All 3 of them have all champion gear in them.
Yeah, I know, it's good stuff too. It's I mean in my case, like, I'm just not good at getting gear for Celeste, so it's like I still have that stuff, just higher levels on it. Some good lucky, some a little less so. Yeah, you got some good Ashara gear there. You probably can't see it. It's probably actually behind me in the stream. Yeah, but, yeah. You got all epics on Ashara. Yeah. I got all epics on Krond too. I use buff. I Bond Humans. It's Bond Humans too good. Yeah. Bond Humans needs to be rebalanced. Question 8. Let's see. Can this stream be Exhibit A for why auto progress should be default to on? Yeah. Anyways,
I think that's fair. Actually, I think there's a couple of things that we actually need to throw into to just save between sessions. One is auto progression, and the other is what you've got the upgrade button set to.
Oh,
so
yeah.
1, 10.
Especially since
25.
like if I close this window and load it on another computer, it resets it back to 1 again.
Yeah. So I think that'd be pretty valuable to save both those things in the options somewhere.
And we'll have that in 1 week. No, I'm kidding. It'll happen when it's done. Let's see. Would you consider giving discounts to players who buy more normal chests in a bundle?
For silver chests, when you buy them with gems, I'm assuming. We don't really have any plans to do that right now. We're pretty happy with it just being a flat price for a silver chest.
What do I got? I got some right here. Should I buy some of those?
Yeah.
Or should I save up for gold? Actually, I find I usually end up using a whole bunch of silvers right at the very end of a run for all the gold.
It's good for gold.
It's a really cheap way to get a lot of favor towards the end of your run.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's see. Any thoughts on being able to unlock custom or alternate formations to allow players to build based on their characters and gear?
Right. So, as you guys have probably noticed, when we do a different event, we use a different formation. So our primary way to introduce new formations will be through new campaigns and through temporary events. We don't really have any plans to allow you to change which formation is in a certain adventure or campaign. We'll just probably do that through new campaigns and through events. Another example from Crusaders is we've done something like 15 yearly events or 14 yearly events in that game, and then we've got 8 or 9 campaigns, and every single one has a unique formation. So they all provide different opportunities for different champions or
split
Crusaders
the party
to be able to to be able to excel. So yeah,
sweet. Yeah, I'm curious to see what the next one's going to look like, actually, because I haven't been paying attention. So maybe I'll look that up after we're done here. Somebody asking, will Delina ever be useful, or is she just obsoleted by Hitch?
I think we'll find a way to make her useful in the future. I think we don't have any real elf kind of centric formations yet.
Yeah, I think
we've got some drow,
dwarves and elves for
elves.
the Ashara buff, I think.
Yeah, we've got some half elves. I think we can probably find a way to make her more effective, along with their other elven brethren in the future.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I used her for a long time, even after getting Hitched, just because my gear for him is still not that great. But it's gear centric. Like, does your gear for that character suck? Well, maybe you won't be using them as much as when you open an epic axe or whatever. Yeah,
and Delina also had a number of issues with her abilities that were there up until recently. So we did recently-ish, I think a week or two ago, finally fix her the way that buffs affected her 2 specializations. So I think there's still a chance for Delina to be a useful champion.
Swapping back.
It may not be right now though.
Everybody gets their time, I think. So let's see. Any plans for gems other than chests?
Not right now. Not in the nearish future.
1,000 gems for a fire breath potion.
No. We do have some thoughts on where they could be used, but if we were going to change the use of them, we would give you as much warning as we possibly can, so you could save up a whole bunch or spend them all if we thought that our new use was going to be dumb.
Okay.
So yeah, we will. We'll let you know well ahead of time if there's anything you're going to be able to do with gems aside from buy chests. But for now, and for the foreseeable future, it's just chests.
Got to find a way just to drain everybody's gems, They like storing them up. Just, you know what? Maybe you should spend them on this. Let's see. Somebody's asking what language Idle Champions is coded in.
Oh, that's a good question. So the front end is coded in Unity. And the back end is just a simple PHP backend for all of the saving and loading of accounts and whatnot.
Okay.
Yeah. Unity is really nice because we can release for multiple platforms really easily on it. That's why we're able to have a Mac build pretty easily, and it also releases for a number of other platforms, which is really useful for us.
So it's just easier to release it on multiple platforms.
Yeah, yeah.
Is that something that we're planning on doing at some point?
That's not something I can comment on right now.
Oh, fair enough. Dave is saying something about coding in Unity.
Coded in Unity. Okay. Next question. He can clarify when he's on if he wants to clarify what I'm saying.
This is interesting. Somebody asking, are there any chances of classic characters like Diana the Acrobat from the TV show being added to Idle?
Maybe. We do actually, Eric, we do actually have rights to those characters, specifically the ones from the D&D TV show, and we actually, in the office, after we found out that we had rights to those, we all went and watched a couple of episodes. If you haven't had a chance, they're on YouTube, and they are incredible.
I just remember the Dungeon Master with like his like bald spot and like the robe.
Yeah. They're pretty simple characters. I don't know that they're really interesting enough to make it into the game, but maybe at some point. I think it'd be kind of cool if at some point, and I know the artists are going to kill me for saying this on stream, at some point we could have like champion skins. Like you could buy a different skin for Bruno or a different skin for Minx or whatever. Then it'd be cool to maybe pull in some of those characters and what they were wearing and be like, hey, it's replace the skin for Calliope with whatever Diana was wearing or something like that. That'd be kind of cool.
Somebody's asking if we read any of the suggestions on the official Discord. And so before we get into that, in case anybody doesn't know, we do have now an official Discord channel. It was just the Discord channel, but now it's the official channel because we got verified this morning. And so the link to that, you can find it on the sidebar on Reddit on the right. We're going to put it in other places, but it's just discord.gg/idlechampions. And it's a pretty active discussion going more or less 24 hours a day about the game, about formations, lots of people helping each other, answering questions. There is a bugs and glitches section that our devs are now looking at to find new things, new problems to solve. It's so we do read suggestions on Discord.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
I think a whole bunch of the devs are in the channel reading.
Yeah, I think most of them lurk.
Lots of lurking.
Usually at least a few of them in there at any given time, and I think some of our artists hang out in there as well. I think Kat is in there. Yeah, it's we're really liking the Discord actually because it's a nice place. It's like we can put the announcements, we can let everybody know what's going on, we can engage when a patch is going out. It's like, oh my god, why did this game crash? It's like just reload Steam. It's Steam's fault, not ours. Just reload it and it'll be fine. I guess I answered that question.
That's fine.
Let's see.
Dave wants me to clarify that when I say coded in Unity, it's kind of a misrepresentation. We use C#, but it's via Unity. Unity is the engine layer that we use.
Okay. For all you programmers out there.
Someone else wanted to know why PHP for the back end, and that's mainly just historic, as we've done stuff in the past in PHP, and so we've got a bunch of code already written that we can use very efficiently and effectively. So
cool. Let's see. Is it possible to find shiny gear when you still have the gold one? And if yeah, will it increase by 50% as well?
So it is actually, I believe, not possible to find shiny gear if you already have golden gear. So those two are exclusive. And if you have a shiny piece of gear and you get a golden piece of gear, the gold piece will override, and so you'll just get the 100% bonus. You won't have the 50% and the 100% bonus.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, you just need to add platinum or something, and it's gold. No, I'm kidding.
Could happen.
Maybe someday. All right. What about a holiday event that gives a small amount of favor but gives all favor?
Maybe, I don't know. No plans for that right now. favor is very hard to balance between campaigns. Events actually give out more favor per gold than regular campaigns do, and that's probably as we add more and more upgrades to the sort of end game for champions, we'll probably bump that up even more. We want events to feel like something where you can make a lot of progression really quickly. Yeah. Which is why you earn a little bit more favor in there than you earn in other campaigns, in the permanent campaigns. It's because we want you to get to level 150 in those 2 weeks. Whereas with a regular campaign, maybe we want you to take a little bit longer to get there. And as the sort of soft level cap increases, events will get sort of faster and faster in terms of which level you're getting to. So no plans to really do that kind of thing with favor right now. Sorry.
Another person asking, is there a long-term plan involving objective completion? At face value, rewarding 1/5 of a gold chest doesn't feel worth investing much time or effort in.
Yeah, that's fair. We will likely at some point before full release rebalance the rewards of those, and we will make every effort to give out whatever you missed out on if you've already completed the objectives. So if we bump the reward up to 500 gems, everyone who's already completed it will just give you 400 or something to that effect. Don't hold me to that 100%. It's not written in stone, but we definitely want to make the completing a new variant or adventure more rewarding in terms of the gold chests that you get from that.
I like just trying to push far in them. Like the Death Curse one, I thought was one of the most fun ones I've played so far. In that, like, it actually, I mean, if you get wrecked, it can ruin your run. Yeah. And I just kind of got a kick out of having that aspect in it. I guess being punished more. Yeah. Sorry.
Well, interesting.
Yeah.
Let's discuss this more.
I was just thinking about Darkest Dungeon for a minute there, but just like, I think it's okay to be ruthless.
Yeah, I think actually one of the suggestions that Erica passed on to me earlier today was with regards to free plays potentially having some of the variant restrictions on them. And I think that'd be really cool to have sort of a random, wow, that's really squeaky, sort of random element to free plays that maybe adds a little bit more complexity, or maybe we can bump up the rewards a little bit or something like that. So we've just sort of gotten into that. We don't have any solid plans for it yet. I think it'd be really cool. I don't know if that was part of even a question or not, but
okay. Yeah. On a similar note to what we were talking about earlier, somebody's asking if there's any plans on adding blessings, potions, or mission buffs like in Crusaders to increase enemy spawn speed and transition speed.
Yeah, I could see something like that happening in the future. We don't have any plans for that immediately, but I could see something to that effect happening in the future. Maybe if the heroic potions, if the health stuff doesn't pan out, maybe they could change into spawn speed potions or something to that effect. Who knows?
Cool. I think we've had this question every week. Will Ashara expand to buff the newer races in the future?
What have we said in past weeks?
You have to make a choice. I think that was it. And just leaving it at that, and not really even answering the question.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess I can try to answer the question. I don't have any plans to expand her buffs out, but it's possible that other champions could pop up who have similar sort of race-specific, class-specific, etc. buffs. So I think we'll get coverage down the road of all of the races and classes for those sort of buffs, but not necessarily all on one champion, because I think that makes them too generalized.
Yeah, well, I mean, then like, why would you ever swap out Ashara if that was the only champion that buffed everybody?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. When will crafting be released? It's a real open question.
What? What is this crafting you speak of?
Yeah.
No plans for crafting in the immediate future. We'll let you know if we start to think about that. But no, nothing right now.
Fair enough. Oh, okay. Somebody asking, how do click hitboxes work? I keep managing to hit the minion behind the boss, even though I click every part of the boss's body, including the head, where leftover minions can't fit.
That's a great question for Dave. I think the answer, and he can yell at me in our internal chat channel if this is wrong. I think that when you click, it clicks the monster closest to where you clicked based on their feet position, their foot position. It might be somewhere else in them, but I think it's their foot position. And so, yeah, it can be really hard if there's a big group of monsters to click a specific one, because it doesn't actually take into account the monster's sprite.
Okay.
Maybe.
Interesting. I've had mixed results trying to click on them. So it's quarter 2, and it's time to give away our Joe Manganiello Archon signed postcard, which also includes a code on the back for 2 free gold chests. Yeah, turn around. Somebody will freeze frame it and blow it up. And this isn't CSI. You can't blow up a tiny pixelated thing in the corner and have it.
Enhance.
Yeah, it's just not going to happen. But you know, this is a pretty cool bit of memorabilia in the sense that Arcan himself has written this. And like, honestly, the more I learn about Joe, the more I think that he's Arcan and not Joe Manganiello. Like, I think he's Arcan in a Joe Manganiello suit.
Joe is very into Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. And so, you know, raffling for this, you get 2 gold chests and a cool autograph. Yeah. So good luck to whomever gets that, and we'll mail the postcard out to you. Yeah. Getting back to the Q&A, because I know your time is valuable, and we're getting to the end of your
That's true.
your visit on the show.
Turn into a pumpkin.
Let's see. We got a tough one for you. No. Can we ever trade gear levels or inventory items in for gems? Oh, so somebody getting rid of their items for gems.
Yeah,
interesting.
I don't think we have any plans to do that right now. Who knows? It sounds kind of like a disenchantment system where you just move gear back into gems. I think that'd be pretty complex in terms of a system to design, but who knows? My inclination is probably not, but I don't really like to say never, because inevitably we'll have a discussion and be like, oh yeah, that's a really cool way to do that thing.
And it might fit in with something else that you're planning on.
Yeah. Yeah, so we've had a number of times in the past where we've been like, no, there's no way to do that thing, and then we sort of noodle on it for a while, and then a couple of months later, we're like, oh wait, here's this really cool way to do that thing that we said we were never going to do, and then we do it, and
then people are like, you said.
Someone brings up the archive on Twitch, and they're like, here's where you said that it wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, I spent this. Didn't I already click close on this? I did. I know I did. It popped up again.
Oh my god.
I got re-notified to watch myself. It's so paradoxical. Okay, so now we have somebody asking, I really enjoyed the weekend buffs you have for Crusaders of the Lost Idols. How many more events until you think we have enough to start up something similar in the Idle Champions?
So there is, we're thinking about the weekend buffs. It's something we definitely want to do. We do have something coming up this weekend that maybe Dave can talk a little bit more about.
Yeah. We're gonna add something quirky and interesting to the game for this weekend.
So this
weekend only-ish.
We'll see how this weekend goes.
We'll see how it goes. But Dave will be able to speak to that when he joins us in a bit.
Yes. So yeah, I think at some point we'll do some sort of weekend buff-ish like thing that we had in Crusaders. It might not be exactly the same. It probably won't be exactly the same. But at some point, I think it's fun to sort of. So for anyone who doesn't know, in Crusaders of the Lost Idols, our previous one of our other games, we had buffs each weekend that buffed the abilities or the DPS or the gold find of 5 heroes. And so it kind of made it interesting. You could try and use those heroes in your formation, and that would maybe get you a few more levels into the game or areas into the game. So something similar to that, something not similar to that, something that switches up gameplay over weekends.
Similar but completely different.
Yeah.
Well, you got to change it up. Yeah. I'm a big fan of messing with people myself, but that's probably a good thing that I'm not in charge. Okay, so this is interesting because it speaks to the event that just completed. So I didn't complete all the achievements for Liar's Night. Will events? Oh, I certainly did. Will events run again, or will I forever have these incomplete and haunting my dreams?
Yeah. Yeah. The plan is for events to run again every year.
That's actually news to everybody because
Is that?
we've been really ambiguous about whether or not we're going to do events again.
Oh,
So you just
in
confirmed.
that case, maybe not. Whoops.
No,
Yes.
but yeah, the plan.
Anyone who plays Crusaders or any of our previous games, of which I will not plug too many of them while on the official D&D channel, anyone who plays our previous games knows that we run these events. We run them regularly, and every year we usually run them again.
Yeah.
Usually with something added to make them fresh and new for people who've completed them before, but there definitely will be opportunities to finish those achievements again. Nobody likes unobtainable achievements.
Yeah, and as I understand it, there are quite a few people who missed out on Stokey, so they'll be stoked to get Stokey
Stoked for
in the future. Yeah.
But
I need more puns. That's what I need. I'm gonna start putting more puns in things. All right, so will you ever consider weighing chest RNG towards filling empty slots over duplicate slots? Not necessarily RNG away from upgrades of stuff you already have, but like green when you have a green already.
Yeah, I think that's something we've done in Crusaders. That's something we haven't done yet in Champions, simply because there's just not that much gear yet. We did that when we did our second year of events in Crusaders. We added some new champions to each of the events, and so we did that then. So I can see doing that down the road.
Oh, this question. We'll probably get to that maybe in time before you go.
I don't know. It seems like there's a lot of questions in here.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. But I find that one fascinating because somebody keeps asking it, but it's like I don't know where they got their information from. Let's see. So, can you add numbers to the ultimate hotbar?
I'm sure we can.
Yeah.
I don't actually know why we haven't yet. I think it's just
Yeah, because can't you hit like a hotkey and have them do it already?
Yeah, you can actually use 1 through 9. 1 through 9. I don't know if 0 works.
1 to 0. So you can you can just hit the button. So I guess they're just asking for the button.
Just the numbers on there. It's probably
It's
something
reasonable.
we could do.
Seems legit.
Yeah, I think it's probably on our. We've got a to-do list that's about 1.5 miles long. So I think it's probably on the to-do list there somewhere.
Yeah, I think it's just to clarify for people being able to see which one is which, so that they don't accidentally hit the wrong one.
Right, and just for
God forbid you use Celeste's Fire on one dude.
Yes.
Which I've never done, obviously.
Yeah, the ultimates do go from left to right, just depending on which ones you have. So it's not necessarily always like 3 for Naeli's stun. Sometimes, if you don't have Celeste Fireball yet, it'll be a different number, or Firestorm, Flame Strike.
Sweet. And so it'll shuffle them depending on who has it, or do they show up in the order that they're purchased?
It's whatever order they are on the hotbar, and they go. They go in seat order. So
excellent.
It's a little bit confusing. But
Yeah, totally. I'll pick up on it eventually. Okay.
Yeah.
This is kind of an interesting question. Why create an idling game instead of games that involve the players more? I imagine that players of idling games don't nearly appreciate your work as those who would pay more attention to the game content.
Yeah, I mean that's an interesting question. I think we decided to make an idle game because we had made Crusaders, and we had this opportunity to work with the Dungeons and Dragons guys over at Wizards, and it was really it was a really cool opportunity. And idle games are actually really kind of interesting because they're a game that doesn't take a lot of effort to sort of get into, but you can get really, really into them. And so they're. I mean, I think I'm pretty excited to work on a Dungeons and Dragons idle game. I think the one thing we try to do as a company is try to take whatever genre, whatever game we're making, and try and add something new to it. So with Crusaders, we took the idle game genre and we added sort of this formation strategy to it, and tried to make the idle game not so linear. A lot of idle games are very linear. There's a best way to do things, A, B, C, and you do it in that order, or else you're being inefficient. Whereas I think we've added sort of more choice and more agency to how you interact with the idle game.
Yeah.
And then with the Dungeons and Dragons one, we've tried to add a little bit more story to it, a little bit more progression through the adventures and the stories and all the different backgrounds and monsters and whatnot. Just to try and make it more interesting and more more like playing a D&D game that you don't actually have to play.
Well, it's interesting on that note, because it's something that Eric has to address a lot when he's talking to people at everything. Like, why make an idle game? And like one of the points he always brings up is that it's, as a genre, it's a community created genre of game that wasn't invented by some AAA developer. It's like, it is a much more community level, grassroots type of genre that has been gradually becoming more popular. And then also on that note, probably one of the most meaningful bits of feedback I've seen for Idle Champions so far was from somebody who mentioned that they are a disabled gamer and that games that require twitch reflexes are beyond them, and that they were really happy that they could play something that was engaging, that they were physically able to do in a much easier way, and feel like they're on a level playing ground with everybody else. So it's, maybe the genre isn't for everybody, and like everybody's got their own way that they like playing D&D, whether it's the board games or actual D&D, or Tales from Candlekeep or Idle Champions, but there are games for everybody.
Yeah.
So we've only got a couple more minutes left with you.
Well,
and then we're
let's rush through some questions.
Swapping out with Dave. So some of these are questions that he can answer, so maybe there's one that only you can answer. Let's see. Are there any plans to have more champions with stat-dependent buffs, like for intelligence, similar to Hitch's friendly with charisma?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a really fun thing to do, to have different ways that the champions interact with each other. So I think we'll definitely see some more stuff. Not just champions with stat-dependent buffs, but maybe you could see an adventure variant where you can only use champions with a certain stat, maybe higher or lower. Maybe you have the
jerks only, and all of them have to have charisma below 10 or something.
Exactly, right? Yeah.
That'd be funny.
Yeah.
Let's see. Do you have any plans of adding attribute points, which we can add to character statistics?
No plans for that right now. It's a cool idea for the future, maybe. But for the base game, the game that's going to go out with, it's going to exit from early access, I don't think we have any plans to do that.
Okay. Well, let's see. Any plans on changing AoEs so that they either hit the closest enemy or the biggest enemy pack?
No plans for that right now. I think managing
people are like,
managing your champion's attacks is an interesting thing. It's something that you can really micromanage with click damage, as you can sort of stagger the enemies to be a little bit more effective, but it's not really easy enough that it's actually a good strategy.
Yeah.
But one of the balancing points on characters who do AoE, like for example Minx, is that you can't really control which enemies he hits very easily. And so it makes them a little bit less reliable, which means we can give him more damage and not have to worry too much about it being ridiculous.
Okay.
Whereas I think if he always sort of tried to optimize to hit the biggest pack or do the most amount of damage, we'd probably have to pull down his damage, and then that would be sad.
Yeah, nobody likes damage getting pulled down.
No,
just buff every other character's damage.
That's an option.
No nerfs, only buffs.
Yeah.
Idle gods of the Forgotten Realms. Okay. Somebody asking, and this is probably a good one to close out on because it's interesting. Do you have statistics on achievement completion for the last event? And if so, are you satisfied with them, or are there going to be adjustments in future events?
Yeah, it's a great question. We do have stats for that. When we're evaluating sort of the success of an event, we will look at not just the stats, but also sort of the feedback on the forums, and the feedback in Discord and in in-game chat, and what we're seeing in tickets. And so we are very open to making adjustments. If we think that something was too hard or too easy, we will absolutely change it. I can't really say specifically about the last event whether or not we think that was good or not. I think the one sort of piece of feedback that stuck with me during the first event was we had a lot of people who were very concerned about not being able to complete it at the beginning of the event. And by the time we got to the end, a lot of those fears had been waylaid, and a lot of people were saying, oh, actually, it worked out. And so I think for the most part, we're pretty happy with the event difficulty right now.
That's fair. I found that the first event, it was much more challenging to get through it because you're still familiarizing yourself with a lot of it. Whereas this one, I think it maybe took me half the time to do compared to the previous one. I was
out of the country for half the event. So
Granted, I play all day long every day because it's on my second screen.
What?
What? Sorry? Isn't that what I'm supposed to do?
Play games?
But yeah, it's. I think that now that people are familiar with it, that what would have been a criticism with High Harvestide will just kind of fade away, and people will just get used to how events are done. And
I think that the only thing we can really work on there is the messaging, because there will always be new players who is the first event they've ever played, and they'll always be a little bit concerned about being able to finish it. And so I think that's something where even the community can help out. If you see someone saying, oh, this event's too hard in chat, you can be like, actually, it's actually not too bad. And, just keep on trucking and you'll be able to get her done.
Perfect. Well, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, no problem.
I know you have some, tons of stuff to do.
I guess I should go just keep making content.
Yeah. Is there anything you want to leave the audience with before you head out, or do you just want to?
No, just thanks for playing, guys. Really, as a community of players, you guys have been awesome over the last couple of months and through Alpha and all that before. And I know a lot of you came from Crusaders, and you've been awesome in that game for the last 2 years. So, I mean, just keep on playing and let us know what you think. Keep on giving us feedback.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you.
I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone.
Yeah, swapping out, hitting the button, and then switching to the next person. Yeah, you're out of frame. Well, I'm just gonna sit here and talk to myself for a moment, while Dave comes in and gets ready, and I, switch this up. Just put that in there. It'll take a second to update. Come on in. I will just turn on your microphone so you can actually speak. And you're in. And it's Dave. Welcome back, Dave. You are our first repeat guest, actually, now that I think about it.
Oh my, what a privilege.
Yeah, it is a privilege, both an honor and a privilege. I guess the first thing that we should probably get into while I'm upgrading everybody's abilities here, and hopefully not clicking the wrong one like a dipstick, we have an announcement to make related to this coming weekend.
Sure, yeah. I mean, we've been working on a new feature that's going to be the Recruiter Friend system. It's something we're going to do for our first promotion, which will be this weekend, probably starting Friday around noon. And that's going to let you, if you have friends that you think you would enjoy the game, you can invite them, and through that we can get a series of different rewards, including a gold chest for both of you. And if they play for a certain amount, then there'll be some additional chests there, as well as potentially some shiny equipment. So
sweet, yeah. So that's good though. It's always nice to have an option to incentivize bringing your friends on board.
Yeah, and then you both get rewards for doing so. So
cool. So moving into the questions, because we have questions, and Justin managed to get through a surprising number of questions, actually.
Holy smokes, that's a big list.
Yeah. Now this one I think you've answered before, but maybe it's a good one to reiterate because there are new players every time we do this. Are we going to upgrade offline money gain?
The answer on that one is yes. Yes, we're working on that particular one right now. I'm not exactly sure the words I used last time, but it's certainly underwhelming. We do want to make sure that there's no advantage to just sitting offline and then coming on. So when we do increase the amount of gold you get for offline progress, we're going to try and make it as close to as if you'd been online, but it's going to have a little bit of a margin for error on that, and it's going to err towards not being as high as if you had actually played that whole time. But right now it's lower than we'd like it to be, and so we'll be working on that.
Okay.
I think, as I mentioned before when I talked about it, was that it's actually a lot trickier than it was in Crusaders, just because of the fact that the characters all attack, and they all attack on different timings and have different AoE attacks, and how quickly you end up killing the monsters is tied to that. So we are working on ideas for that, and we may end up just doing a simulation of sort of a runtime simulation of your offline time, which is a little bit more tricky to get done. It's not as easy as a calculation. Oh, you were offline for 10 hours, so here's your number.
Yeah. Okay. That's an interesting thing on that note, because I would think that the expectation is going to be that you want people to be playing more than having the game turned off.
Yes, absolutely. So that's the idea, right? Like, we want to make sure that that a player who plays the whole time isn't somehow disadvantaged by someone who says, "No, I'm just going to turn it off." Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So somebody asking if there's any plan to add a button that does either buy max level or buy all abilities. So I guess taking the upgrade step further.
Right, right. Like we have in Crusaders. And I think the answer is at some point that's going to end up in there. Mm-hmm. It's not high on the priority list right now, and not exactly 100% sure if that's something that we would. I think in Crusaders we did that via a talent tree, so it was something you had to spend some of your reset currency to get. So that's sort of an up in the air question there, as to whether you'd have to actually earn that as an unlock, or rather that'd be something we just give out. But it'll end up in there eventually. I'm pretty sure.
Okay. Oh, interesting. We have a suggestion. Either minimize click damage or currently less important heroes, so we don't have to scroll the hotbar as much.
Right. The items. I had someone ask me about this in a ticket, trying to make. We wanted to have an option to hide the characters who were not actively in the formation. I mean, it is something where it would be nice to be able to see all of them at once. I know that was when we were initially designing it. We designed for 10 characters at 1080p, and then everyone fit. And then we went and changed it to 12 characters, which just sort of threw that one right out the window. But it is something that I would like to be able to do, to be able to reduce it so that you could see everyone at once. Okay. I'm not 100% sure of the value of hiding the ones you're not using, because when you come time to switch someone out, then it's like, oh, where are they? Oh, well, no, I've got to turn that back on. And it makes that process a little more difficult.
Okay.
But it would be nice to have a view where you could see everybody.
Yeah,
so.
That's fair. Somebody asking, do we have the rights to use the Acquisition Incorporated C-Team characters? Actually, I can probably speak to that more than you can.
Go for it.
We would love very much to do something like that. Much like adding Force Grey. There are a lot of characters that are very beloved, that are on shows that we'd love to watch, that we would love to include in the game. And it's at this point, it's about having those conversations and seeing if those things can happen. Don't want to make any promises, because I really wouldn't want to upset anybody about that if it did or didn't happen based on something that we had said. But yes, we would love to do it. Just put simply, we'd love to.
Absolutely. Yeah. And at the end of the day, it comes down to how much they want to be in the game too, right? Mm-hmm. We can ask them, and they're like, well, no.
Yeah. But, I know Eric has talked to Jerry about it, and Jerry is interested, but he's also busy, and we're busy, and we have a pipeline of stuff being done, and so it's about lining those things up. But that would be great, wouldn't it?
And we're going to continue to add characters on a regular basis, so as it grows. I mean, in Crusaders, we're over 100 characters now, and so, and I think
we don't have 100 characters in this game,
a year from in Crusaders, in Champions...
There's so many. It takes so long to scroll through it. You can't fit them all on one screen.
But certainly, in a year from now, there's going to be substantially more characters, and a year from then even more to choose from there, so we're just going to keep grabbing them from all the sources that we can.
Yeah.
We'll get your favorite character in there.
It's funny because that gives us several routes to get Holly Conrad's character, that witch, because she's on Acquisitions Incorporated with her for a time, and also on Dice Camera Action. So it's does she get two versions?
And the best part about that is if you pull someone's character in from one group, and then the other group people, they're like, well, how come my character's not in here?
Yeah, how come Arcan's in here? Nobody else from Critical Role is in here? Well, that's a good question. Question... Will enemies ever have AoE they can use against you?
It's not on the list at the moment, but it certainly there's no reason they couldn't. So I'd say probably.
Probably. I like the idea of it.
Yeah, no, certainly not,
Personally.
there's certainly no reason they couldn't do it. And every time we do a new event, a variant, we're looking to make something slightly different than it was previously.
Yeah.
So that adds to that. I know in Crusaders they do have like the exploding characters, and I don't remember if that took out more than one character at a time or if it had like splash damage. But yeah.
I was just thinking about that. Like, could you imagine? And I'm not saying this is going to be in the game because it's no plans. But could you imagine a wizard rolls on screen and like your characters are busy fighting everybody else and you just fireballs and just like boom, blows out your back line of characters.
Right, or even something that just sort of rolls through everybody, you know, as a
Yeah.
progression. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be funny. Or just like a wave that just like yeah. All kinds of interesting ideas, especially based off of the lore of Dungeons and Dragons and the spellbook and
Oh yeah, we've so much to choose from.
Yeah.
And some of it just becomes an implementation problem. It's like, oh shit, how do we do that, right?
You can swear. We're on the D&D Twitch.
Okay.
There's a disclaimer.
I'll keep it to a minimum.
I mean, we try to keep it PG-13, but you know, actually, you could drop F-bombs in PG-13 now. So really, just try not to say anything vulgar.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a real
Feel free to
challenge.
swear. Yeah.
Right. Perfect. Okay. But yeah, there's a whole variety of spells that we can choose from. So we got lots of options, and implementing them will be the big challenge for some of them. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm getting feedback from players to update my formation because I can unlock more people and there's a gap. So I'm just going to do that here.
Yeah, that seems like a good idea.
Yeah.
Well, we were watching earlier. You could see that you were sitting there at level 1 for a really long time. People in the chat actually was like, "That's why auto progress should be on." I know you guys addressed that maybe about 15, 20 minutes later.
Yeah. Well, we got to get people good and frustrated before we address it, right?
Oh,
like,
right, perfect.
Yeah.
And like the notification to come view us also popped up, and
it's funny because I'd already closed it once and it popped up again. I was like, "The hell? Didn't I already shut that off?"
yeah, we were worried that some of those are getting they weren't popping up for everybody. We've seen that a couple of places, and I thought, well, I might as well throw out another one there.
Yeah.
And it did make actually a pretty big difference how many people were watching.
So I have both the window for us streaming and the window for it streaming online, which is obviously the one with the delay. And I noticed it pop up in the one online. I'm like, oh crap, that's been there for a while. So this is actually, I think this is actually my regular formation right here.
Which is worth pointing out that you now do have those 2 monitors you were bugging me about.
Yes, so I can read questions.
We're improving our stream environment every day.
Yeah. All we need to do is to handcraft more things to put things on.
It's a little tight here, but it's a tight space.
Yeah. Seriously though, like you can think about how far it's come from when we were talking to people about doing streaming, and they're like, "I don't know if you can do that on time." And you're like, "Well,
challenge accepted."
Yeah, I'm going to work on the weekend then, and then boom, here we are. All right. So somebody suggesting we really need a borderless window mode. Can we get that?
A borderless window mode. So that's where the game is basically full screen, but it's actually not full screen. It's the, I'm not 100% sure that the current full screen is not that. I'd have to actually get a little bit more details on what people are asking for on that. So I'm not sure if the person who asked that question is still there, and we can get some follow up on that, or if it's something that someone can just put in a ticket about it and ask exactly what they're looking for. Because as we know from before, the tickets, they come directly to me. So if you're the guy who asked that, open a ticket and I can follow up with you.
Yeah. Ask Dave. Somebody's saying 2 monitors in 2017, 3 monitors or we riot. I don't know if this table could handle another monitor on it, actually.
Yeah, we're pretty full here. It's a little bit
This
tight.
space is much smaller than it looks, which is why we have a green screen behind us and showing the game, because we're like shoulder to shoulder. Question, let's see. I noticed a few things in the game files. Stokey is Stooky, and there is a Vazen Kale, a half-shade paladin sitting there. Are we getting a half-shade paladin?
No, well, not that particular one. I mean, some of the things, you're looking through the game files, and you will find that occasionally things got renamed. I think Stokey was one of the ones that had a variety of different
Stokey
names.
was Pickle, I thought.
she was Pickle, and then she was Stokey, and then she was I don't know, there was a back and forth on that particular name, and I think the file name, funnily enough, ended up with Stokey but spelt wrong. And once that stuff's entered in, I mean, it's generally speaking, it's not player facing. You don't see it. So we try not to just go in and this will be edited in a lot of places to make that right. So it's
I think you
working.
should just put more stuff in there. Just we're gonna put in Drew's next patch. Well, we're not. We're
that's
not.
Something that we've joked about. That's something we've joked about, actually, is that at least for Crusaders, a lot of people would look at the definitions from the game, because the whole thing would come. We've made some changes in Champions. You only get the data you need at the time, and so they'd read through it ahead of time, and they'd know when the events were coming.
Yeah.
And so we thought it would actually be kind of funny just to put into that data just wrong information, wrong characters, wrong event names, and so they could be like, oh, this is coming. It's like no,
Yeah.
that was,
or just put a riddle in, and it's like, oh, it's just a riddle, and it actually is also wrong, but
just completely throw them off in the wrong direction.
Like I was saying to Justin, I just like messing with people, so if I control people more, I will. All right, so let's see, it's 2:15, so we should probably do another giveaway, and we should probably give away another Steam key for Lords of Waterdeep, plus the Undermountain and Skullport downloadable content. So yeah, I think it's time for that draw. So whenever Erica gets that ready, exclamation raffle to enter. Yeah, Lords of Waterdeep. Love me some Lords of Waterdeep.
Does 2 hours mean we're doing like more than the regular number of giveaways?
Yeah, it does.
So we're doing like six giveaways today. 7?
Yes, six.
6.
Well, 7 if you include the code in the corner over there.
Right.
That the 2 gold Deche is just a 0 day, not a 0, it's an O, which really translated to 2 gold chests today, which is a code that lasts for another 25 hours. So 3 p.m. tomorrow, 3 p.m. Pacific tomorrow, November 10th. The stream code goes inactive because we noticed that people who sleep right now or who get home after the stream, what have you, and then watch it, we're missing out on it last time. So this time it's active for a full day.
Oh, fair enough. I already took advantage of it. I'm waiting outside.
Yeah. I might have taken advantage of it when I made the code yesterday. So whatever. All right. Moving on. Can you add a functionality to hotkey heroes so they can level without the mouse?
Yeah, I mean that's something we'd have to think about exactly what the key mapping would be on that, because we've got a lot of heroes. But we can think about it. I mean, right now, like the number keys, of course, as mentioned earlier, apply to the ultimates.
Yeah, so if you have the number keys for the ultimates and you have the corresponding character, I'm sure something maybe can be done.
It's something that we can think about. I mean, it's not going to be a top priority item right now, but I think it's one of those things where you're going to end up having to use the mouse for something at some point. Like you can't reorganize your formation without the mouse. But
yeah, but I think that many players probably don't even realize that there's actually a little mouse over hotkey thing here.
Oh, we hit it really well down there.
Yeah,
so
I didn't notice it right away. I think you pointed it out when you were on the stream the first time. It's right here. I'm like, oh, shoot.
And it's worth noting a lot of those hotkeys, as has come up, has been stuff that's been requested by players, because we had a smattering of different hotkeys in there originally. Like the Ultimates was one that was there, but no one knew about.
It's behind my head, by the way.
And
in case you're wondering where it is.
They probably can't see a bunch of that.
Yeah, but just bottom right corner, there's an H. Just mouse over the H.
But they got requested enough that we ended up putting them all in. So
sweet. Another suggestion. Distractions that are actually traps. You need to click them to disarm the trap or take a debuff. I like that. I like that a lot.
I don't know how well that works.
I'm not sure how idle that is.
Yeah, it doesn't work well for you've idled it in the background, because you're going to take continual hits on that.
You could add a challenge mode. A dungeon challenge mode, and then it's just it gets crappier for people the longer they play, but they have to play it.
Yeah, we probably wouldn't put anything in that required you to be active for play. I think that flies right in the face of the idea that it's an idle game.
Yeah.
But certainly we could have some distractions that were could be in the sense that they're a trap, in that you might be taking a risk by opening them. Maybe you get a good reward, maybe you get a lot more monsters, and maybe it just explodes.
I would love it if it's you got your chest after the boss and you clicked on it and it was a mimic, and you clicked and then it bit your party, and then they had to kill it, and then it drops.
It drops something.
But a random chance, so it could just happen at any time. Your party would still deal with it, but it would just be there to break up the routine. So let's see. We have somebody saying something nice about us. Oh, I like this. Justin didn't get any praise when he was on here yet, but I guess, or maybe you're getting his praise.
No, that's it. It's just delayed.
Somebody just saying, I just want to say thanks to you guys for the update that made it so that when you've got it set to upgrade rather than ×1, you could still hire champions without having to switch modes or buy their first upgrade for the champion. Yes, I like that feature too. I'm using it right now. It's wonderful. That was a good choice.
Yeah. And then all of the options on those buttons again were from player feedback too on that one. I think actually a lot of people didn't know you could hold the hot keys down, like Alt Shift, to do that. And
yeah.
And then I know once we had that in there, some players like, holding Alt Shift, that's just too much work. So having a button mode on it works quite well for that. So
yeah, I like it. I it's something that I rely on heavily now, I find. So I'm a big fan of it. Moving on. Will fire damage affect fire monsters like elementals, or are they immune, or for any elemental-based monster? So looking at elemental damage types.
That is something that I've always enjoyed in games, when you're able to do that, when you're able to target something specifically. You can heal the undead, and you can burn down the ice monsters and freeze the fire monsters. That's not something that we've implemented here. It's one of those things where I do feel like it would be pretty cool to have in there, but it's not something that I'm thinking is likely going to end up at any time soon. I think we'd have to actually go back and address all the places where it's come into play. It might be something that we would could do with a particular adventure or a particular variant where you were actually trying to pitch elemental against elemental, but overall it's not, because what am I thinking? It's not really core to just the base attack and damage system here. I'm not sure. That feels a little bit more like it's a little bit more active play.
Yeah, it'd be hard to. I mean, because what are you doing? You swapping somebody in and out so that they use a different kind of magic? Because like Delana has her ice storm and Celeste has her fire thing, and it's like, does the ultimate not work?
Right. At the same time, it could very well be something like Minsk and his favorite enemy. And you're picking. If there was something where you had a character who was, say, a magic user who could switch between fire or ice, and you choose that strategically based on, what adventure you were on, like what the story was there, and whether there were different types of monsters.
That's a much better example than the one I came up with.
That case would probably work quite well. But if there was switching up during play, not so much. It's a thought.
Cool. So somebody asking, will you be looking at Xanathar's Guide to Everything for new hero inspiration? Well, we'd have to get our copies first. No, but there's some awesome subclasses in there. I don't know if you've noticed my title today, but I'm using a variant tiefling and a new subclass in my name. Yeah, why wouldn't we? That'd be awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
good stuff.
We've pretty much got giant stacks of all the books here. We get passed around between all the desks, and we use them for inspiration for everything. So the more titles in there, the better, and definitely we're using them all for inspiration.
Yeah. I don't think copies of Xanathars are physically shipping out until like the 21st or 22nd of November anyway. So we're a little ways out from that. We get them at the same speed as everybody else, at least for that one. So yeah. All right. Any option to add a toolbar for quick access items?
Oh, sort of like an item belt, kind of a toolbar. I mean, that's not something that's been brought up. Actually, this is the first time I've actually heard anyone bring it up. I mean, it is certainly something that we could do if it was something that a lot of players requested and found that it would be useful. And there's nothing technically stopping us from doing something like that. It would be a case of if players would find it useful, and it would be a case of if it wasn't cluttering for the inventory, or not cluttering for the bottom UI section there, which already does have quite a few items, especially at a smaller resolution.
I actually have an idea for that, just looking at it right now, but I'll bug you about it after.
I mean, it could certainly fit on the right there by the inventory bag. Wouldn't be a lot of slots there.
Or even just if it was a hotkey that toggled the ultimate bar into an item bar.
Switch it between them. Yeah.
Anyways, cool. Dave, what's the best kind of cheese, and why is it Munster?
This is a joke I'm not getting, unfortunately.
I wouldn't worry about it. I don't like blue cheeses myself. Yeah. Anyways, moving on. Can we get an adventures type tab where we can read back on previously completed campaign dialogues? Honestly, I missed out on some, and you can only play them once. So how can I stop myself from trying to click the distractions now and then on the stream screen? So that's two questions. So the first one, a way to go back through the archive of the adventures you've completed and just read what happened, the campaign dialogue. Start there. I suppose.
Right. I mean, so obviously when you're in the game, you can bring up the game journal and see the previous completed dialogue for the adventures that you're, or for the adventure that you're currently on. When that doesn't, of course, apply to adventures that you've completed previously. However, the way the dialogue is laid out, like the adventure and the variants all have the same dialogue, so that means that you can go back, like if you were to play free play, and look at the dialogue there, provided you haven't turned that off in the settings, so you don't want to see dialogue during free play, and you'd see it there. I mean, certainly it could be something that we could put in. Again, it's sort of a theme here, and a lot of the answers for these is if it was something that really a lot of players were interested in having, we could look at putting something like that in. But at the moment, if you miss some of it, you can start the free play. Actually, not sure you couldn't start. You'd have to actually go through it to see the history on it. But you can look back. Okay, if you're finishing an adventure, you can look back and see what people said if you missed something because you were focused on something else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And as for the part where you feel like you need to pick up my gold or upgrade my characters or click the distractions on screen, the distractions are there to distract you. Alrighty, let's see. Do you guys have any future announcements, or is this entirely answering questions? Yes.
Yes and yes. We've already made our future announcement for the day.
Yeah. Unless you want to make another one.
No, I don't have another one to make, as far as I know.
Okay. Then we won't. We'll wait until its time is right. But yes, we're here to answer your questions. So if you have questions for Dave, you should ask them. That's really it.
Very articulate.
Oh well, that's what I was hired for. And on a similar note, and by similar I mean not at all related, we have another DLC giveaway coming up in a couple minutes here, and this time around we will be giving away a Celeste starter pack. Which I believe is our $20 DLC. Comes with a number of gold chests and full rare loot for Celeste, as well as an epic. And actually, that's one of the champions I've been unlucky with and haven't gotten any extra gear for. So this is the gear that you get. Each of these, although not necessarily at the level that I'm at. So in the giveaway, you'll get each one of these and this. And this is the reason you really want it, and why, if you don't already have it, you should maybe consider buying it, because buffing all champions is amazingly good, and this is a gold epic, so it's, it doubles the amount?
Yes, double. Yeah,
so it doubles. It's so good. It's absurdly good. And let's face it, you use Celeste in everything. So total great DLC right there, and yeah, we will be giving one away any moment now when Erica begins the raffle. So yeah, exclamation raffle to enter once it's started, and I don't think it's started yet, but once it's started, exclamation raffle to join. So moving back to questions. Let's see. Can you please make it an option to edit the font size? I play on my living room television. Text is sort of small. Would love the option to increase the font size. Thanks. Great game. On your TV, really? Wow. How big is your TV? That wasn't in there. Is it a 20-inch TV? 30-inch? 50? 60? 70?
And this is a problem, or actually just a common problem with playing games that are designed for PC on your TV. Mm-hmm. This was actually something we were discussing yesterday. I can't remember exactly for what reason. But basically, a lot of PC games, especially ones with a lot of text, you bring it on your PC or bring it up on your TV, and it's like, oh, well, I can't read that from here. Mm-hmm. I guess it wasn't that important anyway. I'm just one thing that we haven't spent a lot of time on, and is something that we will end up having to look into, is making sure that this works, or that the game has higher resolution options. Like right now, we focused on making sure that we had a minimum size. But for some people out there who are running on HD displays, especially if you're looking like on a MacBook Retina or something like that, the game is going to be quite small, even at the highest resolution, and the text will be difficult to read. And so that's sort of in the same vein as the problem of bringing it up on a TV screen, is that you don't have options to actually increase the font sizes there, and we need those options for the higher resolution screens as well. So that is something that we're going to be looking into, but I'm not exactly sure what the timeline is. That in I'm hoping to get that looked at before we get out of early access, because obviously HD monitor, like really the 4K monitors are becoming more and more common.
Yeah.
Whereas right now we're targeting 1080p. That's sort of our top resolution right now, which is a little bit small on a 4K laptop screen, which, I mean, that's always a question, like, why is your laptop screen 4K? But
how much money do you have?
But it is something we'll be looking at. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, if it can just scale, that'd be sweet.
Yeah, there's already quite a bit of actually font size scaling in there, just because of the moving between 1080p and 720p. Because there's a big difference in the amount of space we have to actually put text, and obviously you don't want to have tiny text at 1080p, which would be, what fit it at 720p. So
yeah, okay. Oh, interesting. Any chance of character damage getting a more distinct color?
Okay, so the question on that, I guess, would be what part of the character damage, like the actual hit damage, or the popping up text, or the I mean, a little bit more context on that would be helpful. I know I had a player talk to me about the red swipes on Stokey. I think originally they mistake them for blood, and they're like, "Why it doesn't turn off with the blood when you turn off the blood in the settings?" And it's like, no, those are the power swipes.
The key strike.
Yeah, and they all have that color. Like all the characters have swipes and strikes, and they're all red.
Mm-hmm.
I think we were following sort of the common, what's the word for it? Sort of like it's all the games kind of, or not all of them, but a lot of games use that as a common indicator for damage, especially physical damage, whereas like spell damage has different colors.
Yeah.
So I mean, if that's the question, I think the melee damage is going to be is going to maintain red, and then all of the different spell effects have the different colors. If that's not the question, I think a little more clarification on that might, let me have a better answer.
Yeah, okay. What do we got next? Is there an option to show enemy hit points?
There currently isn't, at least not player-facing. And it is certainly something we can discuss showing. I'm not 100% sure why we opted not to have that on there. But it does feel to me like something we could put a setting to show. I mean, to some extent, it just clutters things up to have too much text all over the place. I mean, if you look at the formation, I know that has been a point of where, like, okay, there's lots of data here. It's really important that we show all this data. Like, players are going to want to see this data, but it's also like there's a lot of data to fit in a really small area. And so we've tried to make sure that everything is as clean as possible. So that's probably why it's not there. And it does feel to me like something we could turn on in an option for people who really wanted to see it, but we don't want to clutter up the screen with all the details that not everyone is going to be interested in seeing. Yeah.
Justin pointed out as well that the question may be referring to the numbers under the player's feet for how much damage they're doing. So something similar for enemies as well, like
like how much damage the enemies are doing.
Yeah, and how much health.
That's actually something that I'm not sure if it's been implemented yet, but it is something that I put on the list, was to actually have the hit damage, like when a monster hits the player, to pop up a damage, because that's something that's been requested. And so that's actually on the list and likely to be in very shortly.
Excellent. Yeah. So when you
take a hit, you'll be able to see.
Sweet. I like that. Okay, let's see. Somebody asking a question that we kind of touched on a bit already. I'd like to see how much the on-hit debuffs like Stokey does with their key strike do after a few upgrades. Right now I have no idea how much it helps.
Right, okay. Yeah, that's sort of
because I know you can go into the character menu and see some of these things.
Right, but I think he's talking about like anything that sort of stacks up on a monster. You don't know how much that monster is affected. It is something that might have an option.
I guess it's only partial information there. You can't like mouse over it and say it's 26E7 or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it might be something that we do in the future where you could hover over a monster and see, more details about them, like what their health is, what debuffs they're currently getting, what buffs they do, that sort of thing. It's been requested before, and I know some would just like to have more details as to, I mean, even being able to hover it and see what type it is, like whether it's going to be affected by, Mink's favorite enemy or not, or anything else we had along those lines, right?
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. What do we got next? Any plans on adding crit damage to clicking and or heroes? It could definitely benefit clicking, which is extremely underwhelming.
Crit damage. Does it not have crit damage?
It should be a 1 in 20 chance, shouldn't it?
I feel like there should be crit damage. This is one, I'll have to go look into that.
But if you add critical hit damage, you have to add critical fail damage too, don't you?
That's right.
I'm kidding.
You drop your sword, fell in, tripped.
0 damage for 10 seconds. Oh, shit.
Took out the champion next to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. The crit damage was something that I thought we did, but I can't be 100% sure that that wasn't one of those things that we talked about at length and then it didn't happen. I'll confirm on that one because I know that was something that's in there. So
okay. Coming up next, do you have any plans for auto casting spells?
Auto casting spells.
So I think that refers to like you have your
yes.
ultimates.
Yeah, the ultimates.
A crowd rolls on screen and Celeste just casts her flame to torch them or what have you.
So that I think the answer is no. The thing about the ultimates, and I did actually have someone ask me about this earlier. It was like they wanted to be able to just leave it and have the ultimates go off when they were ready, which sort of the base idea of like, okay, that timing is going to be really important here. You're going to want to use it with a boss level, but then if they automatically always went off when it was at the boss level position, it takes away sort of any autonomy you have on playing that. And I don't know. I mean, we are sort of walking a line on whether it's the idle level and sort of here's what you get for playing with an advantage of you being actively playing, and then if you're going to leave it and you hit a boss wall. There's certainly going to be some advantage to coming back and manually making sure you do like the exact, if most efficient ultimate damage. So I think that one is no. We're gonna leave that as something that you have to choose to play.
Okay. Justin just mentioned that we never did actually get around to adding crit
damage. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
And somebody else mentioned that I'm pretty sure critical fails are no longer in 5e. Like I think they removed it.
Oh.
It's just lost. It's left such a lasting impact on me that I still think about them.
They always ended up terrible,
Yeah. Well, I also played with pretty malicious DMs, so if I critically failed, it was as critical of a failure as it can be.
Right.
Worst possible outcome. But
I think I mentioned before,
like that show Final Destination or those crappy movies.
Oh, I didn't see those.
They really sucked. A series of horror movies. Sorry if I'm burning my bridges in Hollywood with this, but like they were fun to watch in the sense that like the deaths were so crazy elaborate that they were dumb and funny to watch. And that's what the critical fails always ended up being for me, is like, oh yeah, you not only drop your sword, like it bounces and spins and like you and the person next to you fall on it kind of thing. It's like Jesus, stuff like that. So
I as I mentioned before, we had a deck of cards, a critical fail card deck, and you had to reach in and pull out a card.
Yeah.
And
I like that.
Something in there was it was really could be as easy as just like you drop your weapon, or as bad as you cut the foot off the person next to you. And
yeah. Oh, good times. All right. This might be a question for Justin and not you. I'm not sure. Somebody asking, why is Kron's base cantrip damage not calculated into DPS?
I think it is what I want to say on that one. I know that's one of the ones where we were working on making sure that all of the forward damage got pulled back into the actual DPS. So if you were going to do additional hits, that counted. So like if your character, for example, like a Char's, each missile does count. Yeah, I mean, I'd have to confirm that, but my feeling was that did get put into the base damage.
Okay.
But like I said, I'd have to actually go back and confirm that to be precisely sure, but we were looking at making sure that all those were accounted for. So I'd be a little surprised if it wasn't.
Okay. Something I want to mention before we get too far along, says the guy who's an hour and 40 minutes into the stream. For our Fan Appreciation Week, we did this thing where we gave away the starter pack for free. And so included in that starter pack were a shiny shield for Brunner, as well as 2 free gold chests. And what we noticed after we wrapped it up was that the ending date for it was a little bit ambiguous because it was supposed to end at a certain time, and we don't have fine control over when DLC or any purchases or what have you are active or inactive on Steam, because we have to go through a process to have something disabled, and they're very busy. They have a small team that handles the entire user base of Steam. So sometimes there can be a delay. And so because of all of this, a section of our players missed out on getting the complimentary starter pack just because it wasn't mentioned in an email, I don't think, or certainly not on time, and so they weren't necessarily able to capitalize on it. So long story short, because I'm rambling a bit, it's free on Steam right now, and it is free until tomorrow. So if you missed the starter pack with the shiny shield and the 2 gold chests, you can get one on Steam right now, and I think it will disappear again for free tomorrow morning at about 9.
Yeah, I think 9 o'clock is
I think that's what they were aiming for, because what has happened is Steam put it on sale yesterday morning at 9, and it was one of those things that we had asked to do, and like it hadn't happened, and then all of a sudden it was just boom, it was active, and they notified us, and so yeah, you can get that DLC for free, and it ends tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. 9 a.m. Pacific. On November 10th. So that one ends at 9 a.m. and the one in the code in the corner ends at 3 p.m. Tomorrow. So yeah, chests everywhere. So moving on. People talking about whether or not the turtle will be a woman in the chat. So I guess they didn't tune in last week, but Grandma is female. It's a
true story.
80-year-old octogenarian turtle druid, and yeah, looking forward to seeing her eventually get in game.
Yeah, and that would have been last week. You got the live stream with the picture on
Adam showing
the
the
time lapse.
Yeah.
Definitely really
that turned out
interesting
really
to
well.
see.
Yeah, it was cool. I mean, you were busy watching StarCraft at BlizzCon, but we were
actually during that we were when the stream started, we were in line for Pirates of the Caribbean. And we were looking at it like, okay, we could do this, we could watch, but I don't know that I've got data for this.
Oh God, yeah, can you imagine? That's how they get you, man.
Yeah.
Data, international data.
And the plans here are just really, really expensive comparatively. So it was going to be like,
there's that too.
For every 100 megs, it was going to cost $5.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't get me started.
Canada's telecoms oligarchy or whatever. Yeah. Good times. Thanks, CRTC. Let's see. Question: can we have frontline character HP actually the most foreground, so it is not blocked by big boss bodies?
So this is the tanking issue, and people are watching the health, and they're trying to figure out when it is it makes sense to use a heal, and you can't see until it gets to the sort of the lower section there. It is something that's on our radar. It is something that we want to do a better job of showing what's happening there. It is a little bit sort of tricky with when things get really covered up. I'm not 100% sure what it would look like if we just pulled the health bar up. So it's on our radar. It is something we want to improve. I'm not sure what the best option for it is right now that doesn't end up looking really peculiar, and maybe end up being like showing the health in a slightly different place, like underneath it, or there's been some talk about putting it on the formation, but I'm not sure, or on the formation on like the bottom bar section. But again, the same concern there is we don't want to end up with too many items down there, making it really sort of not messy is not the word I'm looking for, but it gets really cluttered. There ends up being a lot of different things to look at. So maybe it could be a special case for characters who are taking damage, their health appears to the side of them or something.
Or when it gets hit, and it goes down, it like fades into the foreground kind of thing. Yeah. Something we want to think about for sure. That's a challenge for somebody who knows what they're doing.
Yeah, but it is a challenge. It's absolutely a challenge to make it all look good, and as well as get all the information across. It's sort of been a really tough balance for the formations, because there's a lot of things people want to see. At the same time, we don't want it to look like just a complete mess of little icons, because then it's really hard to make heads or tails of it.
Okay. This is an interesting question that I'm not sure I understand. Why does DPS significantly increase and or stack temporarily when moving characters around?
Why does DPS significantly increase?
I mean, if it goes up when you're moving characters around, chances are you're moving them into a superior formation, at least temporarily. Because it kind of goes up and down, immediately refreshing upon whatever has been placed, right?
Yeah, so I mean, changing your formation obviously has a huge effect on your DPS. Like saying stack temporarily, there shouldn't be anything that ends up being temporary. We have been looking at seeing that there are some cases, some edge cases that we haven't tracked down 100% at this point, where some formation abilities end up not applying after a period of time. There's some case that's occurring, like for example with the heal, where you'll see your heal, which should be billions and billions of health per second, drops to 20, which is the base value, and we're really not sure the cases where that's like what's triggering that to happen. So it is something that we're looking into, but it's also one of those things that's very difficult to track down because it doesn't happen in a consistent manner. It's not something that we can just do a particular thing and then it happens.
So it just kind of holds and takes a second to recalculate.
So when you move the formation around, it does recalculate the whole formation, or anyone affected by those, by the formation abilities of the characters that you moved, and of course the characters that you swapped with. So that can result in things that, for example, if something had gone wrong, that often will fix it. The other thing that we often see is that Naeli in the front there, when she's being attacked by various numbers of monsters, that changes as well. Like the amount of damage that's being done there is stacked on that, and so as those change, that can cause that to go up and down. And the other thing to pay attention on that one is like ranged characters can affect that as well. So the results, you can be looking at your number and it's moving around and you're not sure, and it's so if you're looking at that, make sure that you're not under attack in any way, shape, or form. And if you do have a case where it really looks weird, and you do think it could be a bug, if you record a short clip and send it to us, then we can use that to try and reproduce it. Just because there's so many little factors going on there, it's really hard for us to figure out what might be the issue if we don't have all of the details.
Okay. So it's 2:45. We're wrapping up in a few minutes. I think it's time to do our last giveaway. And for our last giveaway of the day, in honor of our first 2-hour stream and in honor of having both Justin and Dave on our stream, we're going to be giving away a DLC code for our Naeli starter pack, which includes, I can actually just look at it in the game here because you can probably still see it. Yeah, you're not cropped off. It includes this wondrous figurine of wondrous power. God, I could have chosen that better. I could have chosen that better descriptor. That dramatically increases the damage of all your champions, as well as rares for these other slots. This will be a rare, not an epic like the one I have. As well as a stack of chests. Let's see, it's our $30 DLC, so I want to say that's 20 chests?
It's 20 or 25.
Yeah, it's quite a few chests. So yeah, good luck to you on that one. That is our premium DLC, and you've got a good chance of opening more epics once you're opening those chests as well. So good luck, and yeah, Naeli is bae, as they say. It'll help somebody who maybe doesn't even have that stuff yet really push a lot further with her. So yeah, good luck, and I hope you get to enjoy that one. That's a good one. So yes, let's see. We already talked about that one. So somebody asking, Forgotten Realms only. What about Dark Sun, Greyhawk, Mystara, or all those old edition stuff only? So I mean, not only is this Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms, it's also a Dungeons and Dragons 5e game, and none of those are 5e. My personal favorite old campaign setting was Eberron. I loved that one, although Dark Sun's pretty damn awesome too. I mean, they're all great in the right context, but it really depends on your friends, and your play group. But yeah, this is Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms. Maybe someday we could do Idle Champions of the Dark Sun. That doesn't even sound right when I say it.
Doesn't really flow off the tongue.
Yeah,
that's how we determine.
It's all about the name.
Right?
Yeah, the name's not clever enough. So
we'll make Idle Champions Torment, or it's Planescape.
Planescape Torment.
Is the one. Yeah.
That being said, I mean, traveling between planes of existence is something that exists in the D&D lexicon. So who's to write all that off forever? I mean, the right opportunity.
I mean, I think one of the big things with the 50 stuff is they're really focused on Sword Coast right now. So, so that's where all of the lore that we have access to is. So we'd be on our own if we stepped into those other.
Also, why we're all on the Sword Coast all the time. Although, I mean, as part of Tomb of Annihilation, we will eventually be going to Chult. Yep. It'll happen. All right, so let's see. Somebody asking, is the graphic direction permanent, or may it shift to other genres like JRPG? You mean like the design aesthetic of the game?
That's one of those things you often don't change midstream. That's
yeah.
I mean,
it's set. Yeah, there's a style. There's an Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms style.
It's going to start getting really anime looking.
I
don't.
Cloud Strife joins the party. No, that's not what's happening. Cloud Strife is not joining the party. Yeah. Okay. This will probably be, we'll probably have to wrap it up pretty quickly here because we got to get free up the stream for Destiny and Doom starting at 3, which is about 10 minutes away. Let's see what's next. Question-wise, we have you guys looked at a campaign with a split-up formation? For example, a 4-player diamond on the left or a 6-player triangle on the right with monsters coming in from the top. Split formations would be much harder to solve. Thanks. I'm like, they would be.
Yeah, I mean, that is a curious idea. No, I mean, there's no reason from a technical standpoint that we couldn't do something like that. It would be certainly a problem to solve. And it would make for some certainly interesting formation setups there. I don't know. It's probably not something that we're going to look into anytime soon. It might be something interesting for a given adventure or event. The only thing that's a little bit tricky with that, just from a technical, not from a technical standpoint, but from more of a technical art standpoint, is that the monsters don't have a down direction. They don't walk down. And so
I don't even know if the champions do, don't they?
No.
They can walk right or left, but
so I mean, if they could come in and maybe do the whole
we never drew any butts.
They could have that Super Nintendo look where you're moving down, but you're actually walking like sideways, but you're moving down, sort of at an angle. But no, the assets don't work that way. It's one of those.
Don't you know you're not supposed to split your party? Like I know somebody mentioned it in chat, but like you don't split the party.
Well, I mean, if you're just across from each other, I don't know that the party's really split per se. It's different from like, all right, you go this wing, we'll go this wing, and then meet up after we're dead.
Okay, somebody asking. Tyrell sometimes lowers my DPS when I boost one of his abilities. Glitch, part of his abilities. Been seeing it lately.
This is exactly like what we were talking about before. If you've actually been seeing this and it's been occurring, if you can record a short video of this and send it to us, we can then look at all the different, what exactly you've got for your formation and see what's going on there. Just because it is something that
I have seen that before, where you click on it, it's like you go down, and you're like, wait, what?
Yeah. We want to figure out what's going on there, but haven't been able to reproduce it. So if you're making it happen and you can make it happen regularly, send us a little clip of it, and then we can try and reproduce it by reproducing your formation and what level you're on and sort of what upgrades you have. So.
Yeah. Okay. This is actually the perfect question to end on. Dave, what are your favorite Forgotten Realms characters?
What are your favorite Forgotten Realms characters?
Yeah.
I'm particularly partial to, from the game, for Minsk. I really like Minsk. Back to my Baldur's Gate time, but as I mentioned, actually, this question was, you asked me the question at the end of the last stream, and everyone in the stream actually knew the name of the character, which I had forgotten, but one of my favorite characters from the original Neverwinter Nights games was the little kobold bard Deacon.
Oh, yeah.
He certainly made that experience. I can still hear his little voice in my head. Actually, it's probably kind of disturbing. But yeah.
You hear kobold voices in your head, Dave?
No. You're making that sound worse than it is. When I'm thinking about the character right now, I can hear the voice. It's not something that happens on a regular basis. Not that I'm admitting to it.
Hey, check it out. I always thought that was interesting. I'm trying to think of who my favorite Forgotten Realms characters are. I mean, it's good. My 13-year-old self is like, Drizzt! And I'm like, yeah, he's still pretty sweet. I mean, yes, he's an emo dark elf, but who wasn't when they were a teenager? And but he's awesome. I mean, let's be honest here. And he's a character that I would also love to see in the game someday. But
one day, maybe.
One day, not today, not tomorrow, not next week. Like no plans right now for him to show up.
Someone was saying Waterdeep, maybe.
Yeah, Waterdeep.
I heard that.
Yeah. Well, you have to go to
earlier.
Waterdeep for some things. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of interesting characters in Waterdeep. A lot of interesting lords. So that's all I got. I can't resist terrible jokes.
It's actually a prereq for working here.
Oh, that's good. I'm only getting started, let me tell you. And I think it's 2:54. It is time for us to wrap up our stream. I know we're not going quite to 3 p.m., but we want to give lots of room and make it really easy on a technical level for the next stream to start. And so going right to 3 is just, we're not going to do that. We're going to wrap it up now. So I would like to thank everybody for joining us. Thanks for the questions. Thanks to Dave and to Justin, both for taking time out of really busy schedules to be here. So yes, that was our show for today. Thanks for joining us. An extra big, huge thanks to Wizards of the Coast for hosting us. It is, as always, a privilege to be here on the Dungeons & Dragons Twitch channel. So thanks to Wizards, and thanks to you for watching us. It's a pleasure to be able to answer questions from an audience that is engaged and interested, and also to maybe give away some things. So yeah, it's been fun. Thanks a lot. Have an awesome rest of your days.
Thanks, everyone.